Okay, we're live. Okay, yeah. Figured I would do some updates. I've been trying to do them on Sundays, although I sometimes fail, and they're not always from me either. I collect stuff from the other guys that they want to share, and but we're just trying to always hold up our end of the bargain and make sure we're giving you updates as much as we can. Get this out of my face a little bit. Um, so if you're tuning in live, if you just happen to catch us, you know, because you're just by your computer anyway, I don't know, then feel free to comment. And it's best if you go into the actual YouTube screen if you want to comment rather than commenting on the Patreon post, but I'll try to keep an eye on both. But I'm sure since we didn't announce this that there aren't going to be that many of you here anyway, and that's fine. You can watch this later, but it's just easier to go live than like record a video and upload it and wait for it to process and yada yada yada. So I'm kind of going without a script here, but just wanted to let you know what's been going on in the last couple weeks. So very exciting. The mixes are all definitely done, and I recently read some BuzzFeed thing about Disney productions, and I forget who they were talking to, but it was like someone who either is a director or a producer or animator or something was like, we never finish a movie, we just release it, and it's always how it feels with mixes too. And Andrew has, who was doing all the mixing, basically said the same. He said the same type of thing. You know, it's like the mixes are never done, but you have to have a deadline. Um, and sometimes with independent releases, when you're not on a label, it's a little dangerous because you don't you kind of have self-imposed deadlines because no one's really telling you when you have to release the album. We know that like the thing's got to be out by Christmas, right? But that's kind of risky if you don't get it out early enough, and the market kind of suggests it needs to be out in October. So just working your way back, allowing time for mastering artwork, printing, duplicating, all that stuff, shipping, publicity, radio. These are all the things that are starting, and we want to have it released October 18th. So that's what we're saying is the release date now. And so the mixes absolutely had to be done. They are now off to mastering, and we're using a good friend of Andrew's who's based in Toronto named Ruben Goss. I actually don't know how to pronounce his last name, but his company is called Mojito Mastering, and he's done all of our albums to date, so he knows our sound very well. As someone who didn't, make the decision for hiring him, and just being someone who has sort of, passively, I'm not kind of that close to the decision, but I have listened to the work that he's done for us. I really kind of like that he's not actually like an a cappella guy or a jazz guy or anything like that. He's got other influences, and I think that ends up lending a little bit to a unique vibe for the masters for us. Um, there's definitely people who specialize in mastering a cappella music, but given that we're not like a truly like contemporary a cappella group, and there's other musical things going on in this album besides a cappella too, that just doesn't seem like the right choice. So I'm always really stoked to hear what he does, and we already heard one kind of draft, just to make sure he's headed in the right direction. He always gives us like 3 versions to choose from, and sometimes for me it's like really hard to tell the difference. You're just kind of like really just trying to decide between like excellent and excellent plus, so it's very difficult. Anyway, I know there's a couple viewers here. I was just saying, I'm just giving live updates because I gotta record these anyway, and if you're tuning in late, you can go back and watch the whole thing later. But if you're here live, please feel free to comment, so you can ask questions if you want. And it's best if you comment like in the YouTube video, so click into the YouTube video and pop out into YouTube rather than commenting on the Patreon post, just because it's a little easier for me to keep track of. So what else? So mastering, the artwork is like 99% done. We're really really happy about it. Our executive producer, Dave Black, he works for Alfred Publishing, which they're like one of the biggest music publishers around. And I'm sure if you're in the music industry, you've heard of them. And because of his connections, he knows people. I mean, they're doing like book publishing and CD publishing and all this stuff all the time. And so because of his own connections, he knows a graphic designer. We independently found an artist to do like a sort of painted portrait of us for the cover, but then Dave found a graphic designer to do all of the booklet layout and the digipack, which is the case that the CD comes in, doing all of that graphic design. So yeah, that was huge benefit to having Dave on board and helping us find someone to do that. And he also has connections to, a printing company, since they contract with Alfred all the time. So we can get some pretty good pricing since they do that stuff in bulk. So that's a huge benefit as well. So we're really happy about that. The other reason why we have to have everything done now is because the publicity campaign has already started. And you might be asking yourself, like, what is publicity and what is it for in this context? And it's basically so we can get reviews and get people talking about the album and make sure that, by virtue of that happening, that, people know that the album exists and will go listen to it or buy it. There's still a lot of traditional publishing, publications that exist, magazines, print magazines, even though so much is digital now. You think of big jazz magazines like Downbeat, it would be a really big measure of success if we get reviewed in a magazine like that. And in order to do that, you got to get your album to them months in advance, because that's how the print publication, timelines work. So we actually had to start the publicity campaign for those types of magazines that are planning way out like this. Obviously, the masters aren't done, so we have to give them like an unmastered version and just get the mixes as good as we can, which is a little scary, but you figure they've kind of been through that before, so you hope they listen accordingly. The other crazy thing to me anyway, crazy to me, is that for those reviewers, you have to give them physical CDs, which obviously also don't exist yet. And so we had to do like a promotional run of CDs, which means I went to Staples, an office supply store and printing store and here in the US, and, had just like fake CDs printed up. Let me monitor myself so I know where I'm actually showing this. Yeah. So promotional copy, unmastered. Not that exciting. Oh, the little insert I made. This is the best part. Just fell out. But we had the cover art already done, so I was able to just print that. You can get a little nice sneak preview of the portrait that was done. This artist's name is Candace Ball. And, it's not quite a caricature, but it's fun and homey. And you can see the sweaters that we're wearing. And if it's a little tiny bit of hidden trivia as to, something about the sweaters, maybe you can figure out what it is, the little inside trivia there. So, yeah, we're cool with that. It actually came out pretty good. It was just a pain in the butt to get this printed exactly to these, and cut to these specifications. And, it's like I'm just giving them a PDF and then they had to cut it and had to make 25 of these. But that's fine. I just wish people could work with Dropbox instead of that. So, yeah, that started, and now we're also launching a radio promotion campaign that I've done before, not with Accent, actually, but with other bands. It's tough because it's like radio is it's just hard to know, like, what your goals are for radio, and obviously, like, if we're on the radio, that's awesome. But you just wonder, like, is that going to make people buy the record? Is that going to make people share it? Is it going to help with touring, because maybe event promoters are listening. It's just hard to like measure the return on your investment, but with all the people that we've talked to, it just seems like it's silly to put so much into an album like this and not try to support it through radio. And when we say radio, we're talking about, well, it'll be primarily in the US because that's where I have a network and, you know, our executive producer as well. So that said, if you are from other countries, other continents, and you have leads on radio and you think this project would work well on a radio station near you, we welcome all leads. But at least for this, the campaign's basically it's called for what's called non-commercial radio, because like commercial radio stations, you know, that they're connected to big companies, and you know, those types of radio stations are playing like Taylor Swift and John Mayer and stuff like that. So it's not really for independent artists or self-releases, you know, that aren't on labels. And so it's pretty typical to do these big radio campaigns with these non-commercial radio stations. A lot of those are at colleges and universities. You know, they're funded by public broadcasting funds. So a lot of jazz radio stations, though, are non-commercial classical radio stations. And like I said, the college and universities, which, you know, in local areas actually have a lot of listenership. So it's cool. It should, you know, be a couple hundred radio stations that will get a copy of the CD when it comes out. And we hope that sometime between Thanksgiving, which is an American holiday, and Christmas, it'll really, you know, get some play. And so, yeah, we got some recommendations from some of the musicians that are involved with the record. For people they've worked with, we found a radio promoter, and we're just going to start that in October. So those are the big updates. And then I thought that I would just play, you know, a handful of seconds of like every tune. Like, why not? It's tough. I don't want you guys to get like tired of it, and I don't want to spoil it, even though you guys are our patrons and we want to reward you and give you the early access. We also want you to be like stoked about it when it comes out and not be all tired of it and not care anymore. So, and plus it's going to come out plenty early. Like I said, October 18th. So you don't got to wait till Christmas anyway. It's like basically a month and a half away. So let's just try to hear. Hopefully this comes through. If you're with me live and you don't hear the music, please comment and let me know that something's going on. But let's check it out. There's a little bit of Most Wonderful Time of the Year with Gordon Goodwin's Big Fat Band. Pretty cool. Let's skip ahead a little bit to some vocals. Maybe I'm just going to put the cursor somewhere.
Out in the snow, there'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. Long, long ago. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be much mistletoeing and hearts will be glowing when loved ones are near. Loved ones are near. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Cool. Pretty nice sneak preview for you. Let's check out I'll Be Home for Christmas, arranged by Jorge Calantrelli, which also he didn't just do the orchestral arrangement, but also the vocal arrangement, which is pretty rare for us to allow another vocal arranger. Let's see here. We'll just put it somewhere in the middle. Why not?
Love light gleams. I'll be home for Christmas
So yeah, the strings on that were recorded by the Budapest Scoring Orchestra in Budapest, Hungary. They also recorded on Oh Holy Night, which we'll get to. Let's check out A Holly Jolly Christmas, which was arranged by Andrew. And this one's a real banger. Goes through a lot of different like sections and styles. And it features George Shelby on saxophone. George Shelby plays sax for Phil Collins, and you can look him up and see all the other amazing things he's done. Super pro. And also, if you really follow us, you have already heard a little bit of this in the past, because last year Andrew posted like a little teaser. He did the multi-track version of a little bit of this arrangement, which had already been started. So it's a long time coming on this one. Again, I'll just pick a random spot. Let's see here. He's such a killing player, but I actually really love the parts in our arrangements where we just become like the jazz combo. Sometimes that's, because there's a vocal solo, but in this case it's pretty obvious because now we have an instrumental solo and it's like it's just like solo and combo. I love being in that zone, and I think everybody recorded their parts really well in that, to serve that purpose. Okay, next is our Swedish carol, because we wanted to have a Swedish carol and a French song. And so we have Jul, Jul, Strålande Jul. And it's beautiful. And let's pick up part of this. This was arranged to be very much a tribute to the Singers Unlimited. And if you know them, I think you'll hear why.
Som går till ro över det unga stagande bo.
Yeah, nice. We actually start that one with a traditional 4-part arrangement, like just the way that it's traditionally sung in 4 parts, to provide it with some contrast. Okay, here's Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow. Also featuring Gordon Goodwin's Big Fat Band, but the band arrangement is done by Elliot Deutsch. Let's find a spot. Vocal chart is done by Simon. Oh, and in Most Wonderful Time of the Year, Simon did half the vocals, and Gordon Goodwin also did like the other, maybe, I don't know, it was somewhere between a third and a half of the vocals. So I guess I kind of lied when I said Jorge was the only person to arrange vocals for us, because Gordon did it too. All right, let's find a spot here.
All the way home I'll be warm. The fire is slowly dying, and my dear, we're still goodbye. But as long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Whoa.
Oh, and Arturo Sandoval's on this one. Let's just get a little bit of his solo. Oh, that was the end. Hold on. Yeah. This one, like, there's a lot going on, but it's got like a real traditional vocal jazz and big band feel. So I think it's a nice contrast to Most Wonderful Time of the Year in terms of using the big band. This one's very much like you could still have it on during dinner and enjoy it, or just let it be there and whatever, absorb it. Then we have the Christmas song. So we originally had planned to have 2 original songs on the album, and we both songs were written, and the second one it was a song written by Danny and me, and with some help I kind of cranked out an arrangement, but the timing of it was such that with our touring and stuff in the spring, and there was really no way we were going to finish recording it, unfortunately, and so it just wasn't going to get the tender loving care it needed. And so we had an arrangement from Simon of the Christmas song that he adapted a little bit further, but it's for 4 parts, so we actually just have 4 singers rather than doubling. And obviously it fits very well in the vein of this album. We can save the original for maybe a deluxe re-release next year, hint hint, and that will be great. So it's a bit sad we didn't kind of live up to our original goal, but we still were able to have 10 songs on the album by throwing the Christmas song in there. It's a really wonderful high-low-Z arrangement. We've been saying that the High-Lows never recorded a Christmas album, so it's fun to kind of have things on here that imagine a little bit what it would have been like if they had. So for this one, we have Simon on the top part, and then JB, then Danny, and then me singing the 4 parts, and it's with trio. Andrew actually played keyboard, piano, and a couple friends of his in LA are on bass and drums. And we had Don Shelton, who is one of the former members of the High-Lows, do a clarinet solo. So while he's not featured as a singer, he gets to participate in this tribute by appearing on it. But he's Don is in his late 80s, I believe, and he's still so killing. He's such a good woodwinds player as well as singer, so pretty nuts. Let's listen to a little bit of this. Let's see. Yep.
To kids from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you.
Just another one that'll be very nice to have. Okay, and then we have our French song Petit Papa Noël, and apparently this song, which came out in the 50s or something, maybe 60s, can't remember, is the best-selling single of all time in France. So pretty good choice. It's not a song that I knew at all. I'm not familiar with French Christmas songs, and now I know what it feels like to be JB when he doesn't know any of our American songs. Like, everyone knows the traditional carols because they probably know them in their native language, but these 20th century songs like that aren't from the traditional liturgy. I don't know what the word is. I wouldn't. Like JB definitely doesn't know the American ones because like we know them from TV and all these specials and stuff, and they don't play those. So like a couple of years ago when we did Frosty the Snowman, he'd never heard that before. So yeah, it was probably about the same for me to say I didn't know this tune. Super fun. This one's a cappella. Let's check some out. Oops, I'm bad at controlling my computer here. Let's see. Okay.
C'est un peu à cause de moi. Oh, oh, oh. Il me tarde tant que le jour se lève pour voir si demain sa portée. Ah, tous les beaux joujoux que je vois en rêve et je t'ai commandé.
Yeah. Actually, you heard a little bit of James singing French, and I sing some French on this. Well, we all do. We all sing French, but in terms of solos, I have a solo, and Danny has a solo. Kind of funny. We were talking about the fact that like James does the most French soloing on this, and not JB. That's just what the sound was that we wanted. So, and that was arranged by JB. Okay, then we come to our original, which is written and arranged by James, and it's called Winter Winds, and some of you sang on it, and I'm not going to play that part right now because I want you to be surprised, although you won't really be surprised if you sang on it because, like, it was like a unison thing, and we wanted like a crowd vibe, so I don't think it'll be a big mystery, but I still just kind of want to save the build up for when you hear the whole thing later on. So I'll just pick a little bit towards the beginning, maybe. I'm going to save most of this. I'm only going to play like 10 seconds because it's special.
On the way to keep that little distance from the pains of yesterday. It tries to pull me back from holding on to you. I can't ignore it when those winter winds start to blow.
Okay, that was 20 seconds. And you heard in the background vocals of that section our friends' Estonian voices. You heard Sam Robson, and you heard Joe Goldsmith-Eaton, who's from she's one of the sopranos of the Swingles. Fantastic. I'm so excited about that song. Okay, and finally we come to Oh Holy Night, which if you're an accent fan, you've heard this arrangement. If you're a super accent fan, you knew it before it was an accent arrangement anyway, because JB released a version on his YouTube channel several years ago with me singing bass, and it was a shorter version. Then we lengthened it to be able to perform live, and so a few years ago we did a version in JB's living room where we just kind of stood there and sang it. And then last year we did it live again at the Royal Albert Hall, and we were able to get a recording of that from the audience, and so we posted that, so you've heard that. So we're like, okay, we can't do it exactly the same, but we need to preserve the arrangement as much as possible. So we had Nan Schwartz do a fantastic string arrangement, also recorded by the Budapest Scoring Orchestra, and there's new sections that you haven't heard before, and there was some creativity involved in figuring out when should the vocals lay out in favor of the strings, when can they complement each other, when should it be vocals only and no strings, and yeah, there's just whole new components that, again, I don't think I want to spoil, so I'll just kind of find a spot towards the middle somewhere. No, that's it, strings. I don't want you to hear that. Okay.
And glorious Lord,
So you can hear the vocals laid out here.
knees, oh, hear the angel voices.
Back in.
Oh, night divine, oh, night when Christ was born.
I think that's a great section to show how, Nan made a decision to have the vocals lay out, then join in, and then there's some almost like doubling-esque elements of the vocals in the strings, because they're kind of having similar textures there, so it works really well. And then there's parts where like the vocals are doing like more bell tone kind of, or like doom 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 doom, which then became a really nice thing to have pizzicato strings alongside that. So yeah, really excited. And also on that one, as well as the other one with strings, I'll Be Home for Christmas, there is Harp, recorded by Gail Levant, who is like one of the most in-demand harpists in Los Angeles, like kind of thing where you've probably heard her many times and not known because she's on a million movies and TV shows and stuff. So that was all the songs. I didn't play the Christmas Carol medley because we're basically re-releasing that from 2 years ago. It had been on iTunes and stuff, but it's never been on an album. So it actually works really well, and we put it as track number 1. I think it's like just boom, you get a nice a cappella medley right off the top. And yeah, so now you've heard a little bit of everything. Feel free to share questions with us on this video, or now that I'm ending the video, you could post them on the Patreon post if you have some follow-up questions. And we're super excited. Thanks to all of you who, although like the sort of official album campaign, the 4-month campaign is over and we don't have any like album specific rewards anymore that you can pledge on. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you can see by all the things that I've talked about in this video that the work is ongoing. We don't just like sit back and just, like dastardly collect your money and, put it in our pockets. There's plenty that this will still be going to. And the more support we have, the further we can make this album go. So we don't want you to get tired of it too early, but we want you to understand that you are directly enabling the success and all of the support that we need to pay for, basically, to make this album get heard. And then, of course, when the album is released in October, we need each and every one of you to send a link, to listen to it, whether it's iTunes, Amazon, Google, Spotify, Deezer, YouTube. We need you to send it to everybody you know. We need you to post about it on social media. We need you to rate and review it on the Music Store website. We need you to, what else? We need you to, we'll let you know when we do the radio campaign what stations are involved. So if you're able to, you can request it at those stations. We need you to do that. We need you to email people about it. I think I said that already. Sorry. I don't know. The point is, like, on the release day, the more you're talking about it, the kind of better the algorithms are going to work. You know what I mean? Like, if people see a bunch of things happening, like if all of a sudden, like, it's getting a lot of like views in iTunes, like people are checking it out, even if they're not really buying it or whatever, that can help it chart in iTunes. And all of these things help with the kind of snowball effect of an album release. So write down the date, October 18th, put it in your calendar. So you'll remember that that's an important day to be talking about this album online and word of mouth as well. Thank you all for your support once again. And until the next update, bye-bye for now.